Hi, I'm Chris Maragkakis of Simply Be Retreats and Therapies. I'm a life coach, therapist and podcaster. Welcome to Mindful Mutterings. Please like, share and subscribe. And as always, thanks for listening. Hi, thanks for joining me this week. So, although the title of this sounds a little bit dramatic, it wasn't meant to be this way. This is not a sad podcast at all. Despite the fact that it is, of course, called If Today Was My Last Day. But this was a life-changing thought that struck me one morning while I was sitting on the balcony in Greece admiring the view. I was thinking how beautiful it was and how some people will never be lucky enough to be sat where I was, or even if they were, that they just wouldn't see the beauty and the simplicity of the surroundings. And this got me thinking about how so many of us take things for granted or get bogged down by the small stuff, or even tell ourselves that we have time to experience the beauty of life, and then before we know it, it's gone. So I'm sitting there with my cup of cacao, which is beautiful and has relaxed me, and I'm connected to my heart centre, and I'm thinking really clearly, and I'm feeling very verbose and at one with the world. And I realised that even on occasion, even I'm, despite all that I know, guilty of doing the same. So I thought it'd be really interesting to see what changes I would make to the way I lived and what was important to me if I believed that each day I knew that that would be my last day. Now, obviously, most of us don't know this or even want to know this, but already I could feel my mindset shifting because, if you know you've only got this day to live, then your whole perspective changes. Time becomes even more precious than it already is. So I knew that if I was going to spend it, I needed to put some boundaries in place because I didn't want it to become bucket list day. Where if I knew this was my last day, I'd go out abseiling and jumping off buildings, and I didn't want it to be like that. I wanted to see how my day-to-day living would change if I was so completely focused on the fact that today was all I had. And I wanted to make long-term improvements in the way that I live. So, I have the same money as I have now. I live in the same place with the same people, doing the same job. But I was interested to see what I would start to do differently. And the first thing I realised is that I would tell people how much I love and value them. I do this already. My kids don't leave without me telling them I love them, or, my family and friends. But I just wanted other people in the world who've impacted on my life or add value to my life to know that they do that. And so I've started telling them. I'm sure the guy at the end of the phone sometimes is really confounded when I go, "Oh, thank you so much. You've really helped me today. That's brilliant." Because I'm sure most people know my name. But I didn't want to leave anything unsaid. And I also believe very strongly that if we live our life through love, then we are better people. And I don't mean, romantic love in that sense, but just a love for humanity and for the world that we're trying to create together, and, the impact that we have on the collective consciousness. I really think that if we try and view our life through a perspective of love, then we're less judgmental, we're less confrontational, and we're less ego-based. So I made a choice to spend what could be my last day making decisions from a perspective of love. And I'm really, really happy to say that I've tried to carry that on. And what I noticed was that more solutions appeared and seemed to kind of solve themselves. I could really clearly see what I needed to do to resolve a situation, and that people responded more favourably towards me or what I was trying to resolve, and that I was happier. And when I encountered a problem or felt stress rising, I tried to feel a connection between me and the person that I was dealing with. After all, we're all human and we're all just trying to get through life in the best way we know how. To be fair, that one's still a work in progress because I still find people at the end of the phone at a call centre not as helpful as they could be, and that does test my attitude of love sometimes. But no one's perfect and I'm working on it. So obviously I already did this to an extent. I already view my family and friends through a perspective of love, and I wanted to really extend that into the wider community, and I found myself smiling at strangers a lot more and stopping to talk to people a lot more. And since I've ramped up the thank yous, it really seems to have made a difference. I tell people when I've had a lovely time or that it was good to see them, and you can see the difference in them. I feel good knowing that they know how I feel and that I really appreciate their time and value their friendship or the relationship that I have with them. And you can see them change at being told that they're appreciated. And like I say, I leave the feedback for service providers to say thank you, whereas previously I might not have bothered, or I would have said I was too busy. But now it seems really important to me. It's important not to leave things unsaid. Funnily enough, I don't leave negative feedback if I can possibly help it, unless it's something that really needs resolving. I like to think that maybe if I haven't got anything positive to say, I shouldn't say anything at all. Or if it's something that really needs to be resolved, then I try not to be accusatory in any way, and I try to just state the facts so that there's no emotion involved in it. That too is also a work in progress, but time will tell. So that's been really important to me, and I've managed to continue, or I try really hard to continue to do that since I had this little epiphany on the balcony. Like I say, I'm not perfect, and do my head in every time they lean on the gate and chuck a parcel over without knocking on the door. But I have learned to accept that is the reality of every delivery, and I am moving on with my life. But what this mindset has made me even more aware of is how precious my time and energy is. So I'm more consistent in enforcing my boundaries, and also in letting people go. I love to make friends and I treasure the people in my life, but I won't chase them. Whereas before I might have kept checking up on someone that I knew was, I hadn't spoken to for a long time. Now I kind of think, well, actually, if I've made sure that they're okay and I know there's nothing terrible going on in their life, it wouldn't, it has to be an equal partnership. They need to get in touch with me sometimes. And the ones where I don't feel it's an equal balance, there's been no confrontation, there's no end of friendship. I just don't chase them and I just let it go. Obviously, if they get in touch, I'll welcome them back with loving kindness. But I don't feel that it's my responsibility to maintain the relationships anymore. And everyone's busy, I understand that. There are times where people need support in the same way that I do, and you go the extra mile for that person. But on the whole, if I feel there's a really big imbalance in the relationship, energy-wise and effort-wise, then I'm just kind of letting that go and see what happens from now on. And that I feel better for that. So I also realised that I didn't actually need people to agree with me. So when we were having a discussion, that need to change people's minds, have them agree with my perspective, and I've noticed as human beings, we tend to do this a lot. We want to win an argument. Now I don't worry so much. I don't need them to agree with me. If I've checked out what I'm believing and I'm happy with what I've learned, then that's enough for me. I'm not arrogant enough to think I know everything, and I'm really open to other people's perspectives, but I no longer feel that I need other people to agree with me for my belief to be validated. And that's made a big difference as well, because all that stress and angst of, like trying to get people to agree with you or having discussions, and then, quite often that can get quite confrontational because the old saying, you don't discuss politics or religion, because people get so defensive about it. That doesn't happen anymore. I'm really happy to just go, yeah, I can completely see your point. I don't agree with it, but hey, we'll never know. We'll never know if we're right until we find out. And I think this mindset has also enabled me to take my mindfulness practice to an even deeper level. Like all of us, my time in this body is finite, and I don't want to waste a second of it. So I've noticed that since I've had this mindset, I try much harder to be even more present in my activities and interactions, because I don't want to miss a minute of it. I want to experience it all. And because of that, I find I problem solve quicker, because I'm not wasting time and energy getting annoyed. I've really learned how to just accept the reality of what is in front of me rather than how I think it should be. And that makes life so much easier and less stressful. And dealing with that quickly and in as simplest way as I can, without any emotion around it, or without me feeling the need to argue with myself as to how I think something should be, has really, really helped me. And I find I have much more time, and also it helps me to resolve issues much quicker. I make the best use of my time. I love a list. I like to get up early, and I make a lot of use of slow cookers and meal planning, and because then I don't have to sit there thinking every day, oh my God, what am I going to do for dinner? What do they all want? Blah blah blah. No, I know, and it's on the meal planner, and life gets in the way. I jiggle it about a bit, but on the whole, I know I've got the food to do what I need to do, and I don't have to give my thought to what I'm going to cook. And if I'm sat in traffic, rather than getting irritated or frustrated, I listen to a short podcast. If I've got time in the rest of the day or something, quite often it'll happen that maybe a client doesn't turn up, or I find myself with half an hour spare. Rather than scrolling through social media or whatever, I take time to do something for me. I'll read something, or I'll make something, or I'll give myself time to meditate and check in with myself, or even maybe I'll just get a cup of tea and I'll just sit. And that is just lovely. It's so, so peaceful, and it just resets everything for the rest of the day. And also I'll plan and organise things so that I'm not wasting time faffing about. But I also, every single day, I build in time to just be still, to meditate, to acknowledge all that I'm grateful for, so that I can completely and fully revel in this complex journey called life. So I can say that epiphany on the balcony in Greece has really had a beneficial impact on my life, and I suggest you try it. It's just a really interesting way, of all the things that you do in a day, to really nail what's important to you, and if it was your last day, how would you want it to be, and how would you want it to be remembered, and how would you want to be remembered. And it's a really nice way to live your life. And whether we like to discuss it or not, tomorrow is not guaranteed for any of us, and so we really do have to make the best of every moment. So whatever you're doing, I wish you love and light in your activities, and thank you for listening. If you want to get in touch, there's the website simplybe.org.uk. If you want to have a chat, you can get hold of me via my email on cm@simplybe.org.uk, and I can give you a call. But whatever you're going to do, please take care of you, and thanks for listening. Bye.